You already know the moment. You are there, fully present, everything is good, and then something shifts. Your body accelerates without asking permission. It moves faster than you wanted it to, faster than the moment deserved. And the worst part is not what happens physically. The worst part is the silence after, the way you lie there trying to figure out what went wrong, running the same explanation through your head, that you were just too turned on, too excited, that it is simply the way you are wired. My name is Dr. Mary Edwards, and I am a psychosexual therapist with a clinical practice focused specifically on the intersection of nervous system regulation and male sexual response. In this video, we are going to cover 3 things in sequence. First, what is actually happening neurologically when a man finishes too soon, and why the standard explanation is missing the most important piece. Second, the specific regulation techniques that work at the level of the nervous system, not just the body. And third, this is the one I want you to stay for, a single attunement practice that changes the entire arousal dynamic before the first moment of contact. That last piece is what most of the conversation around this topic never reaches, and it is where the real shift happens. I worked with a man, I'll call him Marcus, who came to see me after 3 years of what he described as the same disappointing outcome every single time. He was not inexperienced. He was not anxious in the way most people picture anxiety. He was, by his own description, genuinely excited, present, engaged, connected to his partner. But the moment physical intensity increased, something in his system would tip, and the escalation became impossible to redirect. What Marcus had not understood, and what took us only 2 sessions to map clearly, was that his excitement itself was operating through the sympathetic branch of his nervous system. High arousal, high anticipation, and a subtle but persistent performance monitor all running simultaneously. His nervous system was treating intimacy like a high-stakes event, and high-stakes events activate threat circuitry. By the 3rd session, after we had introduced the regulation and attunement practices I am about to share with you, Marcus described his experience as fundamentally different, not longer for its own sake, but present in a way he had never been. His partner noticed the change before he could even name it. That same shift is neurologically available to you, and I am going to show you exactly how to access it. The first shift, and this one rewires the entire dynamic before anything else begins, is learning to recognize which branch of your autonomic nervous system is running the show at any given moment during intimacy. According to Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory, the human nervous system does not operate on a simple on-off switch between calm and aroused. It operates in 3 distinct states, and the key one for our purposes is the distinction between ventral vagal activation, which is the state of social engagement, warmth, presence, and felt safety, and sympathetic activation, which is the state of mobilization, urgency, and threat response. Here is what no one in this space is willing to say plainly. For a significant proportion of men who finish too soon, high sexual arousal is being processed through the sympathetic threat pathway rather than the ventral vagal safety pathway. The body cannot tell the difference between excitement and danger when the nervous system has not been trained to distinguish them. Both feel like acceleration. Both drive the same physiological escalation. And the ejaculatory reflex is a sympathetic event. It is literally mediated by sympathetic nervous system activation through the thoracolumbar pathway. So when your entire arousal experience is sympathetically toned, you are, in effect, running the ignition and the detonator on the same circuit. Picture this. Imagine your nervous system as a pot of water on a stove. Most men, when they enter intimacy, arrive with the burner already on medium. Performance awareness turns it to high, physical sensation turns it higher still, and by the time the water is boiling, there is nothing to do but watch it spill. The regulation solution is not to add cold water at the last second. It is to begin with the burner low. That means arriving in ventral vagal state before intensity begins, not reaching for calm after you are already sympathetically activated, because at that point the neurological math has already run. Here is the practical instruction. In the 3 to 5 minutes before intimacy begins, practice slow diaphragmatic breathing with an extended exhale. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6 to 8. This is not a relaxation exercise in the generic sense. Extended exhalation directly stimulates the vagus nerve through the diaphragm, activating the parasympathetic brake that opposes sympathetic escalation. Do this consciously, with your eyes open, looking at your partner. Presence and breath together signal safety to your nervous system, not as a concept, but as a biological event. The observable signal that this is working is a softening in the chest and shoulders, a slight drop in muscular tension that is visible and felt simultaneously. If that softening is not happening, slow the exhale further and reduce physical stimulation until it does. Do not rush through this phase. It is the foundation of everything that comes after. The second technique, and this is where I need you to pay very close attention because this is the piece that almost no one in this space is willing to say out loud, is not about what you do with your body during sex. It is about what you do with your attention. John Bancroft and Eric Janssen's dual control model, developed at the Kinsey Institute, describes sexual response as the net result of two competing systems running simultaneously: the sexual excitation system, which accelerates toward arousal, and the sexual inhibition system, which applies a neurological brake. Here is the part most people miss. A man with low inhibitory tone, someone whose brake is underactive, does not lack self-control. He lacks attentional bandwidth. His awareness is fully consumed by excitation, which means the inhibitory system never receives the information it needs to modulate the response. The fix is not to think less. It is to widen the aperture of what you are paying attention to. During physical intimacy, most men have a very narrow attentional focus. It is concentrated on sensation, on performance outcome, and on the arousal level of their partner as a signal of their own adequacy. That narrowing is, neurologically speaking, a catastrophic feedback loop. Every point of focus is excitatory, and nothing enters the system from the inhibitory side. The practice is this: deliberately broaden your attentional field. Notice the quality of your partner's breathing, not to evaluate it, but simply to register it. Notice the temperature of the room against your skin. Notice your own feet against the surface beneath you. These are not distractions, they are anchors. They distribute your attentional load across sensory channels that are not purely excitatory, and in doing so, they give the inhibitory system the input it needs to operate as a genuine brake rather than an afterthought. Your nervous system cannot sustain sympathetic overdrive when you are simultaneously processing neutral sensory data. It is like trying to hold a full sprint while consciously attending to the rhythm of your own footfall. The broader awareness reorganizes the neurology of the experience. The calibration signal here is your breathing. When your attentional field is broad, your breath remains accessible. You can feel it moving in your body without effort. When your attentional field has collapsed back into narrow excitatory focus, your breathing will become shallow and fast without you noticing. That shift in breathing is your signal to widen the lens again, not to stop, not to withdraw, but simply to expand awareness without reducing presence. This is what safety feels like from the inside during intimacy. It is not absence of arousal, it is arousal without urgency. And that distinction is what Marcus finally found in session 3. The third technique is the one I saved for last deliberately because it operates at a level the first two never reach, and it requires something from you that has nothing to do with physical skill or mental strategy. It requires a moment of genuine vulnerability before the moment of peak intensity arrives. This technique is what I call the reset anchor, and its mechanism runs through the neuroscience of oxytocin and the parasympathetic nervous system simultaneously. Research in social bonding neuroscience has consistently shown that oxytocin release, triggered by close eye contact, sustained touch, and synchronized breath, directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system and creates a physiological state that is neurologically incompatible with pure sympathetic dominance. In plain terms, genuine connection is a biological brake on escalation, not an emotional one, a physiological one. The practice is this: at the moment when you notice yourself approaching the edge of your tolerance, not after you have crossed it, but at the first clear signal that you are heading toward it, pause. Not a withdrawal, not a stop and start exercise in the mechanical sense. A deliberate, unhurried pause. Make direct eye contact with your partner. Breathe together for 2 to 3 full cycles, synchronized, and say nothing, but mean everything. That eye contact in that moment is not romantic decoration. It is a neurological reset, the combined activation of the social engagement system through eye contact and synchronized breath drives ventral vagal state and oxytocin simultaneously, which actively suppresses sympathetic escalation at the biological level. You are not waiting for arousal to decrease. You are changing the state your arousal is running through. The observable signal is a shift in the quality of the physical connection, a change from urgency to presence that is palpable to both of you. If you do not feel that shift within 2 to 3 breath cycles, extend the eye contact, slow the breath further, and reduce physical movement completely until the quality changes. Trust the biology. It is not slow because it is not working. It is slow because you are changing an entire neurological state, not just a momentary sensation. Now here is the action plan I promised you. Tonight, before intimacy begins, give yourself 4 minutes alone in the space where you will be together. Dim the lights to a level where faces are clearly visible, but the environment is not glaring. Sit close enough to your partner that you can feel each other's body warmth. Breathe together without speaking, 4 counts in, 7 counts out, for 10 full cycles. This takes approximately 3 minutes at a relaxed pace. This is not foreplay in the conventional sense. This is nervous system preparation. It is the burner starting at low. The first observable checkpoint is in that breathing phase. You should notice your jaw releasing and your shoulders dropping within the first 4 cycles. If that is not happening, slow your exhale further and reduce any ambient distraction until it does. As physical intimacy progresses, spend the first 10 to 15 minutes in a pace that is deliberately slower than your instinct tells you to go. Not teasing, not withholding, present and deliberate. Practice broadening your attentional field every 2 to 3 minutes, registering neutral sensory data alongside the physical intensity. When you notice the first clear edge of sympathetic escalation, the sensation that things are accelerating beyond your deliberate pacing, use the reset anchor. Pause, eye contact, 2 to 3 synchronized breath cycles, then return. The second observable checkpoint is the quality of that return. If you come back to the same narrow attentional focus and immediate re-escalation, the ventral vagal state was not fully established. Do it again, with the eye contact held 1 breath cycle longer than feels comfortable. That slight discomfort in the vulnerability of sustained eye contact is, specifically, the moment the neurology changes. What you are building over months of this practice is not just extended endurance in a physical sense. You are building a nervous system that has learned to hold high arousal in a state of safety rather than threat, which means your partner experiences you as someone who is fully there, not managing a countdown, not performing, but genuinely present. That quality of presence compounds over time. It is what transforms competent intimacy into the kind of connection that partners describe in terms of trust and surrender rather than technique. Let me restate the core of what you have just heard in the clearest possible terms. The duration of your sexual experience is not a willpower problem. It is a nervous system state problem, and nervous system state is not fixed. It is trainable. Arousal is built through parasympathetic safety, not sympathetic escalation, and the two are neurologically distinct, even when they feel similar in the moment. Control is built through attentional breadth, not mental suppression, because suppression collapses the inhibitory system rather than activating it. Connection is not a reward that comes after you solve the physical problem. It is the biological mechanism through which the physical problem resolves. And what becomes possible when you practice this consistently is not just longer intimacy. It is intimacy where you are actually present, where your partner feels seen and met rather than anxious about your experience, and where the entire dynamic between you becomes one of mutual safety rather than managed performance. Tonight, before anything else, try just the breathing practice. 4 counts in, 7 counts out, 10 cycles, sitting close, eyes open, with your partner or alone to begin. That single practice, done with genuine intention rather than as a technique to execute, is the entry point into the entire shift I have described. If this kind of grounded, science-based guidance on men's health and relationship psychology is what you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel, because every video here operates from the same commitment to real science and honest clinical experience, not surface advice. And I want to ask you something worth actually thinking about. What does it feel like in your body in the moments just before intimacy begins? And has anyone ever helped you name that feeling before today? Leave that in the comments. I read them, and your answer might shape the next video in ways that help more people than you know. Take care of yourself. The quality of your presence and intimacy is one of the most meaningful gifts you can develop as a partner, and you are already doing the work.